then I'm going to talk about my water distillation system that I just built. I don't know how many seconds in. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Hey friends, I want to share with you this water distillation system that I just built. It was pretty inexpensive in comparison to actually buying a professional water distiller. If you have these types of items on hand, it would greatly help. So the first thing that I start with is my pressure cooker. If you have a pressure cooker like this, it's handy. You can use any kind of pressure cooker that's got a valve on the top. Let me let my dog in. And so I decided to do this outside because I think that the colder temperature really helps the process. So what I did was I took the original nozzle out, and it is dripping a tiny bit. I could probably put some kind of washer in there, but it's really not so bad. And then I found a threaded hollow tube that fit in it, and I went to my local hardware store and had them help me get the right sizes of little fittings to go on it. And I originally started with more of a flexible plastic tubing, but it made the water taste like plastic. So I really don't recommend, like, this is what I used, and the heat of it made the water taste like plastic. So I had them help me get this. This is PEX tubing. I don't know what that stands for. I even looked it up and it didn't even say what it stands for, so I'm not going to care about that. Clamp it down. I'm leaving it long just so that I have options for placement, so that these don't have to be so close together, but you just do what you need to do. And then I also got the correct fittings over here. Nothing's leaking. And so what works really well is to fill this bucket with cold water. I'm just using this. This is just what I could find very quickly to keep, I'm going to take it out. It's stuck. What I want to do, you need to keep this water cold because these coils inside here get hot. And I don't want them to touch the edge of the bucket. You can see the little drain down there that I built, and then the water is dripping out here and filling up in the bucket. But you want to keep this water cold. And what you're going to notice, I'm just using this little rack to stabilize it, to keep it centered so that my coils don't touch the sides. That's all that's for. It's really not serving any other purpose at this time. Let me fix it. Sorry. But this copper tubing is very hot, so you don't want to touch it. And it didn't quite melt the plastic here, but it was getting hot and making me nervous. So what's going to happen is the water up here is going to start to heat up. And as long as down here feels cold, you're going to have a nice stream of water coming out. If steam starts to come out of here, then you know that this bucket is too warm. This process, it's allowing the vapor, the water vapor, to turn back into a liquid by using the cold water. I did have these ice packs in there last night and they quickly melted and this heated up. I got a good bit of water before that actually happened, but this would work really well in a survival situation if you were able to stick your coils into a cold stream. As long as you had propane or firewood, you could do that. I don't really know. You'd want to experiment with like how far of a distance you could have these two from each other. Right now, I feel like I'm getting a nice stream of water. See if you can kind of see that coming out. And so the process of distillation will sanitize unsanitary water. I could actually put mud in this thing and it would extract clean water from it for me. The one thing that it can't filter out is pesticides and herbicides. Well, I say one thing, but it's a couple things. Which even, I believe, filters don't filter that out either. So that's the one thing you have. But what you can do, we have pretty clean water here. Our water comes off of the deepest natural lake in our state. And our city water does. But if you go on ewg.org/tap water, there's still, you can put in your zip code in there and it's going to tell you the contaminants that are in your city water. We still have 8 contaminants in our water. And although, you know, we're not getting sick or anything like that, if that was to become unstable, this would be a really great way to sanitize the water so that we could use it. And then the amount of propane that we use for this is really not much at all. So look, the stream of water is really coming out nice now. So I'm really happy about it. And so the water coming out of here is going to be cold. So in that case, this type of tubing is going to be okay. And I don't think it'll make the water taste like plastic. I didn't try that yet, but if it does, I'll just remove this tube and let it drip in. But I wanted to try it and see. My bucket is leaking just a tiny bit, which isn't too big of a deal. I actually think I want to install an actual drain plug so that if this water was to get too warm and I wasn't finished with what I was doing, I could drain it all out and pour some more cold water in. I would recommend that. I think that would be a really great way. If you have a pressure cooker like this, make sure that the gap between each one of your segments is about level, eyeball level. You don't want this to sit crooked at all. So far I'm really happy with, there is a little bit of leaking going on here, but it's very minor. That's not bothering me. This isn't leaking. If it did leak, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Just if you were doing this indoors, maybe that would be a problem. And what I like here is my pressure is not building. And I wouldn't expect it to build because there's nothing blocking the pressure. But if I had something like mud in here, I would want to watch this just in case. The pressure, we wouldn't want that to build up. That could be a bad situation. So any kind of pressure cooker will work if you just find a threaded, hollow metal tube that will fit right in there. You can go to your local hardware store and get the right little attachments to make this work. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I'm excited and wanted to share it with you. Access to clean water was so incredibly difficult, and that could happen, you know, at any time. If we had an emergency situation, if we had some kind of a natural disaster, anything like that. And for me, being a mom with young kids, something like this is just so incredibly easy and inexpensive to rig up that there's just no reason for me to not have this on hand. And even for camping, like if we just wanted to go for a really long camping trip and we needed, what if we, you know, we could run out of drinking water? Well, we could just easily use water from any source. It could be totally disgusting water, and this works the same way our atmosphere does, the way clouds do, the way rain works. This is all the same concept, you know, of God's design. So I was so intrigued. And I'm a homeschooling mom, so this is just a great science project for us to do. Although it's a little dangerous, but it's fun to show the kids and, you know, let them see how this type of thing works and explain it to them scientifically. So I just love science, and I love prepping, and I love having, I wouldn't say I'm a doomsday prepper, but I definitely like knowing how to put together a quick and easy survival, you know, technique for something that could easily be used for camping. And I have a few other videos like that on my channel. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to put a tutorial that I got very good, helpful information from down in the comments. I would recommend checking that out. The man had very good information. There's not a whole lot of videos that I found on YouTube on how to do this. And if you've got a pressure cooker, you can get your hands on a good used one that's, you know, the seal doesn't really matter a whole lot. We're not trying to get pressure. We just don't want steam coming out of the edges. So let me just say that if you're going to use a regular kitchen pan with a lid, the steam is going to pour out of the sides. Like if you were to make a hole in the top of a pan and you inserted some tubes and you got it all set up, but your edges weren't sealed, all that nice steam that you're trying to condensate is just going to be flowing out. And although it would work, it would probably not yield as much. So that's just something to note.